This is from a guy named Sid Roth. It's supernatural. You can see what's happening. Money multiplies when she prays. Originally aired in 2010. This is from the archives.
It's supernatural.
One chicken feeds 19 people.
Dang.
And they had leftovers for days. Empty gas tanks being...
Also took a great
Whoa, what the fuck? Okay, well, divine intervention right there.
Feeds 19 people. And they had leftovers for days.
Some Jesus stuff with the chicken is happening.
Empty gas tanks being miraculously filled.
Yeah.
Money multiplying. Supernatural transportation without vehicles. Find out more on this edition of It's Supernatural.
Wow.
Can ancient secrets of the supernatural
Oh, you got a whole ass fucking intro.
be rediscovered? Do angels exist?
Do angels exist?
Is there life after death?
You couldn't show me a more obviously untrue program.
Are healing miracles real?
Is that his hand growing back?
Can you get supernatural help from another dimension?
Yeah, any dimension.
Has the future been written in advance?
Wow.
Sid Roth has spent 30 years researching the strange world of the supernatural. Join Sid on this edition of It's Supernatural.
It's supernatural.
Welcome to my world where it's naturally supernatural. Wow. I'm Sid Roth here with Patricia King. And when you look at Patricia, you see a woman vibrant that's just shouting, life, l'chaim, life. But there was a time when she wasn't that way.
What the heck?
There was a time where she was at her wits' end. She literally...
Is he Jewish too? Is this like this is Chalutzin maybe? So it's a usually these are Christian, so interesting.
Felt that they were going to put her in a mental institution and throw the key away, but she had a newborn baby.
What?
What did you do about this baby?
What? You had a random newborn baby?
Well, when I gave birth to my baby, I was on my deathbed actually because of a seizure that I'd had. And at that time, Jesus appeared to me in a vision.
During the seizure deathbed? Oh, so this is reliable.
So I gave birth to the baby, but then afterwards had epileptic seizures, had emotional rages, uncontrollable emotional outbursts, and I was very concerned about the well-being of my baby.
Not your brain? So it sounds like your brain is fucked up.
And I had another child as well. And so I was doing lots of things behind the scenes that I was very ashamed of, but had no power to control. And I was afraid to tell people about it because I thought, if they knew what I was doing, that they'd hate me. But it got to a point where I needed to tell someone, so I was going to report it.
So does he hire actors to show up, or do these people believe? Sounds Jezebelian. Do they believe this? Do all of them believe?
To the authorities. But before I did that, I wanted to make sure that my baby was okay. And back then I thought, well, if
you have a seizure and you hallucinate something at the same time, I think we can chalk that up as oops, my brain's fucked up. Would
have my baby christened in a traditional church, that then maybe if once I reported it and they put me in an institution and threw the key away, that maybe I would see my baby in heaven one day. That was my thought.
Yeah,
Wow.
It's kind of a bizarre thought, but you know what? It was a good thought because you had an appointment with a minister, and what did he say to you?
Well, I went and called the local Anglican minister and asked him if he would come and christen my child because I was in a problem. And he showed up at the house about 20 minutes later, and that was the first time I heard about knowing Jesus in a personal way, about being born again. And he said,
You had multiple seizures, you were hallucinating stuff, you also had rage outbursts. Do you have a cyst on your brain? like that sounds like an arachnoid cyst to me. There are so many traumatic events happening, and then like your kid's dying, and you have an Anglican priest here, and you're dying, and in your harrowing experience, he tells you you don't have to be hopeless. You get to do it over again in heaven, where everything's gonna be perfect. Don't even worry about this. That sounds psychotic. That's fucking abuse.
Have been in the ministry for 17 years, but I've only known the Lord for 2. And so he introduced me to the born again experience, invited me to a prayer meeting. I went to the prayer meeting, and everyone I saw was glowing, literally glowing, and shared their testimony of how Jesus took their sin away.
What did you feel
with light
at this meeting? I know what you saw, but what did you feel?
Well, when I walked through the door, it was the first time I felt joy. And I could never remember feeling such intense joy as when I walked through the threshold of that doorway.
Jesus Christ. Your whole life? You didn't have like a good meal once? You didn't have like a fun birthday party? What the fuck? You didn't have a good time? Your children have been born.
And I heard them pray and talk about Yeshua as though he were right in the room. And I thought, I want that. I'm desperate for that. But
man, why do people want this? This is literally cult stuff. Yeah, this is not cute.
Other testimonies of having him forgive their sin didn't seem as bad as what I had done. So I thought, I wonder if he could forgive the sins of the likes of me. So I left that meeting that night, went home into my living room all by myself, and I cried out and I said, Lord, they said that you forgave their sin and came into their life and gave them a brand new life.
Are they going to put up a donation link at any point, or is this just all it is? I would be shocked if there's no way to pay this man money immediately.
But my sins seem so much greater
Textbook
than theirs.
love bombing?
So I don't know
Oh, yeah.
if you would be able to come into mind, but if you would, I want you to.
Man, you really made this actress fucking
He did not
schnot for this.
hesitate.
I'm not looking.
I felt him come in. I felt love. It was like liquid love coming into me.
Okay, maybe a possible clip.
Felt him come in. I felt love. It was like liquid love coming into me, and it was like immediately the miracle.
Yeah, coming into I mean, come on, we need it. We need that one. I think we have a lot of breeders in chat that would really appreciate to be able to express themselves. God damn it. God fucking damn it. Okay.
Birth inside where I knew all the guilt, all the shame, all the trappings that I had, where
She
I
got
knew
so
I
much
was
snot.
evil
It's
to the
so
core, but I
gross.
couldn't do anything about it. It was all gone in that
can't
moment
look at
of
it.
time, and I
I
cried
can't fucking
all
look.
night long.
So
I stayed
disgusting.
up all
So
night
disgusting.
and cried because of the goodness of the
Cool.
Lord.
Can we move past it?
But then she
Gross.
becomes normal. Now, what do I mean by normal? Does that
Liquid
mean
love.
she sits in a church for the next 20 years being entertained? No, she wants everyone to know her great discovery.
right.
So she goes around her neighborhood. I mean, was it the next day or?
The very next morning, I cried all night, got up, refreshed myself, and as soon as I saw lights on around the neighborhood, I went knocking on the doors because I
What a fucking psycho.
thought, Sid, that the only reason why people hadn't received Jesus was because they hadn't heard. I thought for sure they would want him just like I did. So I knocked on the first door and I said, last night Jesus came into my heart and he forgave me of all my sin and he can take away your sin too. And they said, Patricia, have you gone crazy?
Yeah,
and I said,
what the fuck?
No, I was crazy, but now I'm not crazy. And
Neighbors thought she was crazy after all the brain trauma she went through and regular trauma.
And they thought I'd just gone berserk, and you
did.
that kind of that rumor went around the neighborhood.
But Patricia, you have
did.
never changed.
I've never stopped.
I don't understand why most Christians don't start.
Oh, I know.
It doesn't- it doesn't make
I'd go out
sense.
on the street.
So he is a Christian, but he says like L'chaim and stuff. Ooh, where are we in here in the pocket? Where are we?
And find whoever I could find to preach the gospel to, and I still love sharing. The love of Jesus transforms
Messianic, maybe.
lives. It takes people out of darkness and puts them into a light that is uncomparable. There's nothing in this world that can compare with the life that Yeshua brings to us when we receive him as our Savior and Lord.
This love.
This is some crazy shit, man. Like, this is for real, like how some people think. Obviously. I mean, you know people like that. I've known people like this. And they think this is, like, profound and shit. You're crazy. You're fucked up. Man, wouldn't it be better if it was not just that they were fucked up? Are Christians really under the impression we have never heard their God? Yeah, they never shut the fuck up about it. I know. They talk all the time about Jesus. It's tough.
Of God. Do you experience it often?
Yes. Yes, the love of God is so real, so tangible. We can experience his love, first of all, Sid, by faith. So even when you don't feel it, we can believe it, right?
It's so interesting that, like, they're essentially tapping into a phenomenon of lying to yourself and delusion, and then saying, yes, this is the results of all my prayer, is the delusions I believe about it. Crazy.
I believe he loves me unconditionally, even when I don't feel it. But when you
even when I don't feel it. So crazy.
Focus on love. When you focus on God's love, you empower that love in your own life, and you start to feel the presence of love. And
no way! When you start to trick yourself into thinking that something loves you, you believe it. People do this to people, by the way. Just because it's not real doesn't mean it's not fucking crazy. People convince themselves that they love other people or that those people love them back, delusionally so. How is this different from a regular delusion? The obvious difference is the institutionalization of it, but like from a material standpoint into a person, it's enforced and taught delusion. It's crazy to allow, like in the way we allow it. Like with tax exemption and stuff like that. It should be relegated to what they are, is scammers. You could truly even believe it, but you're scamming people.
The more you soak in his love, the more you can give it out to others.
Your CD series, it's your entire school.
Yes.
But how did you learn so much about the supernatural? How do you understand all of these things?
Well, I had a 30-day visitation of the Holy Spirit where he literally...
Oh, is that all?
Literally sat me down during a prayer month that I take every year.
Sure.
And I started asking him about the supernatural. And he unfolded it to me day by day, up to 12, 14 hours every day. The Holy Spirit nudging me to look up certain scriptures.
She for real sounds like I've told this story before. I had an ex whose mom believed very similar to this shit. She was super fucked up. She definitely had a bunch of trauma she never fucking unpacked, and she buried it under religion. It got real fucking weird. And she once told us that she doesn't need a man because she is literally sexually fulfilled every night by Jesus in direct sexual ways. She believed that. Crazy. This is not dissimilar.
And giving me waves of
liquid
his
love,
presence and glory, and then
Jesus fucks. This one does.
Pursue the word on it. So I've created. It was like a dictation. Actually, that course is like a dictation.
I wonder if
of
she's
the
ever
Holy
been on
Spirit
here.
over
She wrote a book
30-day
and everything.
period, 16 lessons on it.
Listen, what she is experiencing is not only normal, but it's what you're going to have to experience as we get closer to the return of the Messiah. I mean, look around. Things are getting tense. She sees money multiplying. She sees food.
But not everyone can write a good book, okay? Very different.
Food multiplying. She travels supernaturally. For instance.
Yeah. Teleport right now. Do it. Fucking do it.
Fed 19 people.
Teleport like fucking Cell Saga Goku.
And that was when I was a fairly new Christian, Sid, and I didn't have a lot of teaching on the supernatural yet. But what happened is I was reading in my devotions about how
27,000 words to train a seahorse.
Jesus multiplied the loaves and the fishes, fed 5,000 supernaturally with a little bit of provision that was put in his hand. That day, it was a Sunday afternoon, I was at home cooking a chicken dinner for our family. It's my husband and I and 2 children. He took the children to the lake.
That's how you cook your chicken dinner? That's a lot of fucking mirepoix. What the fuck is going on under there? Terrible reenactment. Make a real chicken for me.
It would have frozen over. They were skating, met a whole bunch of friends of ours there, invited them home for dinner. So when he comes through the door, he's got...
That's already as much as a YA novel? Is it really? Oh, this ain't no YA novel.
He's got, including our family, 19 people. I was shocked.
I'm sure you were more than shocked.
We didn't have cell phones back then, so it was like, hi, hon, I brought these people home for dinner. I thought, I got this one chicken.
It reminds me of I used to go to the circus, and there was a car, and about 50 clowns get out of this tiny little car. You must have felt that way as they piled
That's
into your
exactly how I felt as they filed in. But
50 clowns in a car.
then...
Where does this come from? Was that a stunt once? 50 clowns in a car. How many clowns can fit in a car? Where did this start?
I thought, well, this morning I prayed and read the scripture about Jesus multiplying the loaves and the fishes. So I prayed.
So she's like Jesus.
The same prayer. I said, okay, Jesus, you can multiply this. And I had an expectation for a miracle, although I had to fight fear because I was a little bit embarrassed about only having this one chicken. I added some extra vegetables into the pot and stuff like that. My husband got this big piece of plywood and set it up. We sat 19 people around the table. Well, I cut up the chicken, prayed over it, and then we asked a blessing on the food, and it started going around. I thought, people are really sensitive. We might be able to do this, but I was thinking, but we still need a miracle, Lord. The first person took this big honkin' portion of chicken. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You know, it's never going to go around. But then the next person also took a great big portion, and the third person, and I was having an internal panic attack. When all of a sudden I noticed, hey, just a second, the plate of chicken looked like it still had the same amount of chicken on it.
Like in a video game where they're eating like a meal and they'll like cut a piece off and then the animation will finish and it'll loop back to the beginning where they were cutting it and it's the same piece they cut off, you know? Yeah, this really definitely happened. All right, do a miracle. I want to see her teleport. I need this.
It went around to 19 people, Sid. I was the last one, and it was still a full plate of chicken. But there was chicken.
Damn, this lady's blessed as shit. Just like Job, dude. All you need is some seizures and dead kids and
on
shit.
every person's plate. And do you know what? That chicken lasted 3 days. We had chicken soup, chicken sandwiches, chicken omelets, chicken pizza, chicken everything.
No wonder the supernatural is so natural for Patricia King. We'll be right back after this word.
No wonder.
We'll be right back
Okay.
to It's Supernatural.
Are they going to sell me survival buckets or what?
We now return to It's
They just made all their money on ads, huh?
Supernatural.
It's crazy.
Hello, Sid Roth here with Patricia King, and I love it when I get on an airplane and can go somewhere. But how much more when you can be translated, like Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch, he found himself in another story, just like in the Bible, from one city to another.
What?
But Patricia, you were going to go on a trip to Israel, but before you went on the trip to Israel, you had an amazing experience. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Sid, months before I went to Jerusalem for the first time in the natural, I was in prayer for Israel one day.
In the
and
natural?
as I was praying, the Spirit of God took
Did you
me
astral project?
a visionary encounter, I would call it like a transvision, where I ended up in the city of Jerusalem and then found myself flying through the streets of Jerusalem, interceding for the peace of Jerusalem.
Well, that's sure.
Yeah, interceding for the peace of Jerusalem. She's a witch too, dude. I think we should we should see if she floats. We should see if she floats or not.
Beats being in a car in a traffic jam.
Does.
I like that.
It does. And it was so real and tangible that I actually smelt like fragrances, like spices and that, and I could actually feel wind against my face. I acknowledged the wind of the city.
Yeah.
The warm wind of the city
Cool.
blowing against my face. And it was months later when I actually went to Israel for my first time, and I was walking through the streets of Jerusalem that I realized this is where I was in the spirit, the same smell, the fragrance, the feel of the air.
Wait, I thought you realized it when it was happening the first time, because you were like, oh, and then I was interceding in the peace of Israel. So you didn't know that? So it's crazy how much bullshit she says. This is a very special, important lady.
And it was just a very surreal time. It was awesome.
But what you could see, did you see some of the scenes?
Just had deja vu. Deja vu is cool.
Things that when you went in the natural that you saw when you were flying
Yeah,
over?
it was actually some streets that I flew through in the spirit, and it was at dusk. When I flew through it, it was at dusk, and there was a settling. There weren't a lot of people around there, but I acknowledged some of the storefronts, the buildings.
They were the same ones.
The structure of the building fronts and that.
What about that sick friend? 1,500 miles away. 1,500 miles away. She goes and prays for this person.
Yeah.
Now tell me about that one.
That was another encounter.
Another different encounter. This is very interesting, because anytime like you tell the story and then he doesn't really he obviously doesn't interrogate it much. He just says, oh, in this, and then she says something, and then he moves on to the next thing to gish gallop the audience along, so that they don't have time, these old Christian ladies giving all their money to these kinds of fucking people. They don't have any time for any sort of criticism at all.
When I was in Mesa, Arizona, my friend was in the hospital in Vancouver, British Columbia, 1,500 miles away. And I got a call from her daughter saying, please pray for my mother. She is very sick. In fact, they've done some tests. They believe that she's suffering with a pulmonary embolism. As I was praying, I was walking down the streets of Mesa, Arizona, praying, storming for my friend, concerned about her. And through a visionary encounter, was taken in the spirit to Vancouver, British Columbia, in the same hospital where my friend was. I actually saw her in the hospital bed, as clear as I'm seeing you now.
Dang, dang. This sounds like you're having hallucinations, by the way, and have forever. Like, it for real sounds like she's having hallucinations.
And the Holy Spirit had told me to release, by faith, the healing blessing. And so I just, by faith, released that blessing. It was just an act of faith. And then immediately I was back on the street of Mesa, Arizona, where I'd been walking. I thought, oh my gosh, I was just in Vancouver over my friend's body in the hospital, imparting healing.
Imparting healing. Cool. Why? Do some healing right now. Heal something.
I knew that I knew that I knew that she was healed. And so we finished our walk.
I knew that I knew that I knew.
We were on a prayer walk. We finished our walk, got home. Later on that evening, I got a call from her daughter, and she said, the symptoms have waned from my mother. They're going to keep her in overnight, do some more tests in the morning. But if she's okay and the tests come through, they're going to send her home. I said, your mother will be fine because she's healed. And I knew that I knew that I knew that she was...
Why do you say that? These are the craziest fucking people. They'll just put you on TV if you say some crazy shit. You just gotta be a certain type of crazy so they can sell stuff. Words are meaningless. Thoughts are meaningless. This is meaningless.
She was healed because I was there and I could feel that presence of faith minister to her.
And she was totally healed?
Completely healed. She went home the next day, no symptoms. All the reports came back normal.
Well, you hear these stories from Patricia King. You hear these stories from my guests every week on It's Supernatural. And you say it's wonderful for them, but they're people, as a matter of fact, you're saying, what about me, God?
Ooh, is this where we can donate?
God, am I Swiss cheese? I've got some good news for you.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So many people have gone through this glory school.
Glory school?
Now moving in the supernatural. I want you to look at a student that was just leaving one of these glory schools.
A school
he was
for glory?
supernaturally transported. I love it. Let's take a look.
This was back in the fall of 2006. My friend Sam and I were driving back from Tucson, Arizona, where we'd been teaching prophetic schools, and we had just gotten...
prophetic schools
off the highway to fill our gas tank at a Love's gas station just south of Casa Grande, Arizona. And as we got back on the highway, we were talking about the prophetic school and all the amazing ways God had shown up and talking about the things of God. And while we were talking, all of a sudden, outside of the driver's side window, we both see this flash of light, this like brilliant white flash.
while you're on the road. Wonder what it was. I don't know. There's no. A car would be too natural.
And it
Not nearly supernatural.
took us by surprise. I remember I turned to Sam to say, did you see that? And at the same time, he was saying to me, what was that? And as we're trying to figure out what it was, not 2 or 3 seconds later, all of a sudden we notice we're at the Chandler Road exit on the I-10. And if you don't know the Phoenix area and the I-10 highway, that's at least 20 or 30 miles down the road from where we'd been. And so we weren't sure what was going on, but I can remember that the atmosphere inside the Jeep became supercharged with the presence of God. And
Supercharged with the presence of God. He teleported. He made you go fast in the car. He made you vroom.
all the hair on my arms was standing on end, and all the hair on my legs was standing on end. And we had gone past where we needed to be, so we had to get off the highway and turn back around. And as we did that, we're
Okay. Sounds like you disassociated.
coming back on the highway, and we're saying, God, what just happened? Did you just transport us in the spirit? What was that flash? What
Did you transport us in the spirit? You missed your exit. You missed your fucking exit.
you just do? How did we get here? And as we're asking God to explain to us what had just happened, this truck, this huge semi, pulls right into our lane, almost cuts us off. And on the back of the truck, right in front of us, in huge letters, it says Covenant Transport. So God sent a literal sign right in front of our eyes on the highway to confirm what he had just done, that he had just transported us in the Spirit.
Why is the Christian God a trickster God? That would be something a trickster God would do. Missed your exit, fucker. Gotcha. Just fucking crazy. Crazy pants.
Now return to It's Supernatural.
Okay.
Hello, Sid Roth here with Patricia King. And when I think about Patricia King, I think
I am now a devout Christian. Well,
of someone that is so overwhelmed with the love of God, with the compassion of God, that you literally go to the streets and you deal with the down and outs. And I see you put your arms around people that probably haven't had a bath in a month and
oh wow,
are filled with lice. Why do you?
Wow. Is this piece of shit dead or is he still around? They all have lice and are dirty. God.
You do this.
Well, you know,
Just filled to the top with God's love.
I was forgiven of a lot, Sid, and so when you're forgiven of much, you
So much God in me, it's leaking out.
you have to love much. I was so loved by God myself, so forgiven, that's why we bring light into the darkness, and everyone will come alive if they're loved to life, right?
Fucking, did she say any words?
And you know what I also love? You'll give a prophetic word to someone.
Yeah,
That's got to be
destiny
such
words, yeah.
encouragement to people.
You know, a lot of times people never hear of what they were created for.
Encouragement to people. Prophetic word.
No, okay. I thought we had just watched a documentary about Ren Fair in Texas, and it looked a little bit like the guy.
To someone.
Yeah,
That's got to be
destiny
such
words, yeah.
encouragement to people.
You know, a lot of times people never
love
hear
necromancer.
of what they were created for. And so if you don't know who you are and what you were created for, you might never reach for that. You know, if you've been told your whole life that you're no good and that you'll never amount to anything, then maybe you won't, because if you believe those words, right? But if you were told right from the beginning that you were created with destiny and purpose, then you can arise up into that because it's what you were made for.
All right, I have something better for you. You were not made with any purpose. You have been granted the gift of sapience by the universe and statistics to experience life one time. And so try to have a good time, you know? Just try to have a good time. Pursue happiness. be yourself, and do so in a way that is real, I guess, right? Don't fill your head with crazy stuff. This is crazy stuff. You can live in reality with the rest of us.
So when we go out...
She had sapience, but she blew it!
and give prophetic words even to those that are in the darkest of places in their lives and in sin, and that those words will bring them to life.
Now, many of these street people have mental problems. They're
I was created to be rich, so Christians.
schizophrenic. Tell me about one schizophrenic that got healed.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's not one of them, but maybe someone else has been healed of their schizophrenia.
Well, we have a home called the Restoration House that came about because we met so many people on the street that we would have loved to have taken home and just love them to life, but we didn't have a facility. So we believed God for a home, and our very first person that came into that home had a problem with schizophrenia. In fact, they were on medication for that. And God just told us how to believe for them to come into wholeness and to come into a place where they could be functional in life. They weren't even saved when they first came to the home, but through loving them to life, God transformed them. And after they became a Christian, they started believing God to come into the fullness of what they were created for. And as a result, God supernaturally delivered them from their schizophrenia so that now...
So, yeah, that's harmful. They're not schizophrenic anymore. They just have God experiences. And they're like, that's fine. That's real now.
Now, just within a year or so after that, they are in their right mind. They're totally off all their medication. They're working at a job. They're being an asset to the community. And they're just thriving in the things of God because of the power of God, because of the supernatural healing effect of God upon their lives.
No. Now the delusions are just explained by, like, oh, God's talking to me. There are a lot of functional schizophrenic people that have jobs and shit that believe that they are listening to God or something. So silly, man. Please get mental health care if you think something's going on.
Now, some amazing things that have happened at your conferences. Tell me about the Wind and Fire Conference.
Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. We were actually praying for this conference called Wind and Fire. We're in a prayer meeting, and in the home where we're having the prayer meeting, all of a sudden the smell of fire, like a fresh fire, came into all of our nostrils. We're running around the house thinking the house was on fire, but there was no fire. So we're wondering, what is that? We look out the window and all of a sudden a fire truck goes down the street. We thought, well, maybe it's the neighbor's house is on fire or something. We run outside the door to find this fire. The fire truck's parked just down the street. We run down there saying, is there a fire? And they said, well, we got a phone call that there was a fire on Badger Avenue, but we can't find the fire. All of a sudden, I realized, oh my gosh, that's the name of the conference, Wind and Fire. We were just praying about the fire of God.
And it actually so manifested in the invisible
that it called a worthless 911 call? The angels are working in mysterious ways.
that they could smell.
It was physical smell that was manifesting, but no visible fire. So the next week, when we actually...
That's thaumaturgy. That's a cantrip.
...had our conference, we were planning a 5-day event. The very first night of the conference, the smell of fire came into the conference hall. The janitors were running around trying to find the fire and didn't understand why the alarm didn't go off. And they thought, there's no fire, but everyone could smell the fire. Do you know what, Sid? We had 21 nights of revival where people were healed, delivered, set free, saved, forgiven of their sins. Oftentimes, people wouldn't even leave those meetings until 4 o'clock in the morning because the fire of God, the power of God was moving in such an extraordinary way.
Were they doing drugs? What was happening? 4 o'clock in the morning, spending time with her? What the fuck were you doing? These goddamn pigs in a blanket must have slapped.
So in that case, the
crackers and cheese going crazy.
Fire, the smell of the fire was a supernatural sign of what God was going to bring, the fire of His Spirit, the fire of His glory He was going to bring into the meetings. And it was
the fire of His glory, that's right. This has been gobbledygook from the start.
It's a prophetic sign.
Let me take you back to that young woman that thought they'd put her in a mental institution, throw the key away,
Yeah.
and then you were set free from
Yes.
shame.
Yes.
You were set free from guilt. What did that feel like to be free?
You know, when you live under the weight of sin and guilt and you can't do anything about it, I knew that I was a bad person. I tried not to be a bad person, but I kept doing things that were bad, so it enforced who I was. I was trapped inside of guilt and shame. And many people, even watching this program right now, in fact, you might be watching right now and you feel that way, that I'm under guilt, I'm under shame.
Listen to how this religion uses guilt and shame constantly for every aspect of it. You are inherently sinful. You can't do this without Jesus. Oh, your life is empty. That's because you don't have Jesus in your life. Get a little bit of Jesus in your life. By the way, pay for our fucking ghost school.
And under condemnation, I don't know what to do. But
I don't know what to do. Life is so hard and complex. Better just live in delusion instead.
Telling you, Yeshua, Jesus, in a moment of time can lift that because you're forgiven in him and you're loved eternally in him.
Yeah, did she abuse the kids or something? Like, what is she ashamed of?
And that's what I experienced
Pray
at that time.
a brief prayer right now, very brief, for them to experience the love of God.
Yeshua, I pray right now that for everyone watching, that the love that's in your heart for them would be experienced in the fullness of their mind, their body, and their spirit.
Yeah.
Enter them now with love that frees them from condemnation and shame forever. In the name of Yeshua,
Cool.
Amen.
That's not saying anything. That's not helpful at fucking all. This is... Yes, let them feel love. It's just fucking what? If you want to feel love, love people and yourself. That's for real. That's the ticket. If you want to love people, if you want people to love you, you gotta love yourself back a little bit.
How would you like to know that love?
But no, how would you like to know that love? Yes, chat. Learn the love.
All the time.
Yes.
If you know the King of...
Subscribe immediately to Know Love 24/7. Filled to the brim, the tippy top with love. If you want the love to come into you, subscribe immediately. Get stuffed with the milky goodness of love.
Love. You'll know his love all the time. Yeah. His name in Hebrew, Yeshua. In English, Jesus.
Jesus.
Make your peace with him. What you're experiencing right now.
Oh, El Minato, a 3-piece. That's greedy. Greedy. You want an Amretic, Mary Marie, and DH1. That's a lot of love. Appreciate it, man.
That peace, it's nothing compared to what he has for you. No matter what the world has thrown at you or will throw at you, by making Jesus Lord of your life, you are on your first step to the greatest life a human could have. Do it now. Don't wait another minute. This is your moment. Don't miss the moment of your visitation. Make him Lord now.
Make him Lord now. The Lord. Why are people looking for that? Why do you want someone in charge? What's going on there? Is it just a bunch of, like, subs? And they don't really know how to express that part of themselves? Get visited all over your face. That's right. Making decisions is scary? I guess. But they're only scary because there's a rudderlessness to the, to being a religious person. And then living under a religious, capitalistic empire, it also helps you feel pretty rudderless. Can God come inside 100 men in one day? He doesn't have the balls.